Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Today is Tuesday, December 11th, 2018. Welcome, Smaulgld Game Changers. Tonight's episode is entitled Google No Bias. Trump says no border wall, then the government shuts down. And the Perth Mint gold sales doubled. Before we take a look at those top stories, we've got some audio clips and lots of charts to take a look at. Let us take a look at what happened in the markets today. Markets were a bit mixed all across the board, including the equity markets. The Dow Jones was down just a little bit, down 0.22%, and it was down to 24,370, down 53 points. NASDAQ was up just a little bit to 0.16%, and that was up 11 points to 7,031. And the S&P 500 was down even just a little bit at 0.04%. It was effectively unchanged on the day, and it closed at 26.36. Now the gold price, same story, down a little bit, just a little bit, down $1, about $1.17, less than 0.1% down. No big story there. Although the Dow Jones was somewhat volatile today, it had risen out of the box a couple hundred points, fell about 150 points, then went back up and closed about 50 points down. So it was a bit of a seesaw on Wall Street. Gold, on the other hand, was effectively just started out opening higher and drifted lower, as you can see on your chart there. And after hours, about the same thing. It's up 20 cents. It's at 12.43. So it's the same as it when it closed. Now, silver. I think silver might have outperformed gold today. Yes, indeed. Silver finished with a very slight gain. 3 cents.
So silver went up 3 cents during the day, and all the people that are holding silver, the 1%, they're making money. Because they know that JP Morgan's got silver, and JP Morgan's part of the 1%.
And it closed at 14.55 according to Bernie Sanders, up 0.21%. And that means
the gold-silver ratio went down today. So people holding silver are happy.
And there it is, 85.5 to 1. The unsustainable gold-silver ratio actually went down to 84.8. It was heading towards that natural 16 to 1 ratio that we always see, or the 9 to 1 or the 1 to 1, because silver is rarer than gold. Yep, that's what happened. Didn't happen at all. There it is, 85.5 to 1. All right, now let's take a look at the top stories. In the morning, this morning, we had Google showing up to Congress, the president of Google, or the CEO of Google, and he opened up, and there were questions from the congressmen on both sides about privacy and tracking, and then there was questions of bias from both sides. There was a congressman from Tennessee named Cohen. He had mentioned that he had been on MSNBC, he's a Democrat, giving interviews, but when you searched his name under news, Breitbart and the Daily Caller came up, so he was claiming bias. Someone else noted that when you type in an image search for idiot, you see Donald Trump. But I guess the two biggest accusations of bias came from Jim Jordan, I think he's a Republican from Ohio, and Louis Gohmert, he's a congressman from Texas. And Sundar, the guy you see here, the CEO, said that with a straight face, Google has no political bias. And let's have a listen to what Jim Jordan had to say about that.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pichai, in your opening statement, you said, I lead this company without political bias and work to ensure that our products operate that way. Ileana Murillo is Google's head of multicultural marketing. Does Miss Murillo do good work?
I'm not directly familiar with her work, but she's an employee of Google, and we are proud of our employees.
Well, you praised her work. The day after the 2016 election, in a 4-page email she wrote about her work with the Latino vote, she said, "Even Sundar gave our effort a shout-out." Is she referring to you there?
She was referring to my communication around translation for a different related effort.
Okay, well, I'm going to look at 2 other sentences she had in that long email, again, recapping her work in the 2016 election with the Latino vote. She said this: "We pushed to get out the Latino vote with our features." A few lines down in her email, she qualified that sentence, and she said, "We pushed to get out the Latino vote with our features in key states." And she specifically cites the states Florida and Nevada. Near the end of her email, in a similar sentence, she says, "We supported partners like Voto Latino to pay for rides to the polls in key states." With me? I want to kind of analyze those 2 sentences. We pushed to get out the Latino vote with our features in key states. We supported partners like Voto Latino to pay for rides to the polls in key states. Is it fair to say the "we" in both sentences, Mr. Pichai, refers to Google?
Congressman, we are very concerned whenever there are allegations like that. Our team looked into it.
I'm not asking that question. I'm asking, is it fair to say the "we" in both sentences refers to the company Google?
As Google, we wouldn't participate in any partisan efforts around any civic process, so I don't think so.
So we pushed and we supported partners like Voto.
All right, that's enough. The point he was making was that there was a memo from the head of diversity at Google, and she was talking about how they had tried to get the Latino vote out, that they had paid for rides to work. She put a memo out. She said that the CEO recognized their hard work, and he said, well, we don't do that kind of thing. And obviously you take it from there. There's not going to be a fact finding over that. He essentially said, we don't do it. We looked at it. Nothing happened. And he asked the CEO, or Jordan asked the CEO, well, then is she lying about this? And he said we couldn't find anything. So maybe he was saying she was lying. Who knows? But then Louis Gohmert was even more pointed in his analysis of how Google behaves. And he called out the use of Southern Poverty Law Center as a fact flagger. And he started out very nice, and then he gets in his typical frame of his mode where he gets in a bit of an attack. So let's have a quick listen to Louis Gohmert talking to or questioning the CEO of Google.
Latino to pay for rides in polls.
Well, of course, we're not going to hear it that way.
Delete. Is it really deleted, or is it just...
No. You're off a little bit. You got to move up a bit in the video, just a bit. And then we're going to get to it, and we're going to get to Louis Gohmert questioning. Here we are.
I don't want to see you regulated. I want to see others come up with brilliant ways, as you, Mr. Brim, and others did, to create something that makes life easier. But a good example, you have a trusted flagger, you'd indicated, called the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center really has stirred up more hate than about any other group I know. They stirred up one guy to the point that he went to the Family Research Council, and I know those people, and they're Christians, and they believe, and I believe, that Christianity is really more based on love than about any other religion in history. God so loved the world, he sent his son so loved the world, he gave his life, and yet they stirred up hate against the Family Research Center, and a guy goes in shooting. You have, let's see, June 18th of this year, Southern Poverty Law Center announced it had reached a settlement with Najib Nawaz and his organization, Bullion, for falsely labeling them as anti-Muslim hate group. They were wrong. Now, you consider them a trusted flagger, yet they keep creating problems for people that are not haters. And in fact, they had to, they had to pay out $3.375 million. My problem is when you put your moniker on them, a trusted flagger, why aren't you paying $3.375 to Mr. Majid Nawaz? That's my problem. You trust people that have stirred up a lot of hate. And another good example, and you're so surrounded by liberality that hates conservatism, hates people that really love.
All right, that's enough. The point he's making is that Southern Law Poverty Center is probably not considered by everyone to be a neutral fact flagger, and but apparently that concept is lost on the CEO, and Louis Gohmert is making the point that there is tremendous bias at Google, and the Google CEO insists that there isn't. And he made reference later on to many of you may have seen this, the Google leaked President-elect Trump all-hands meeting that they had the day after the election, where essentially every one of the top executives at Google met with hundreds of Google employees and essentially explained why they didn't like the results of the election, how they were shocked, how they could have done better, how they were sad about it. So here's Sergey Brin talking about, he's the founder of the company.
TGIF we have had. Let's face it, most people here are pretty upset and pretty sad because of the election. But anyway, on a more serious note, myself.
Right, so he goes on in his morose fashion that how it's not a good thing, and he actually said he was offended by the election results. Now, all this is fine. You're allowed to have political opinions, and if this was just the five of them, the five top executives, and they all knew each other's point of view, and they were in a senior executive meeting, and they were talking amongst themselves, it wouldn't be a big deal because they wouldn't be portraying to the whole organization or the world their bias. But here, they're essentially saying that this is a big error. How did this happen? And this is not good. And then you get the CFO, I think her name is Ruth Borat, and she starts essentially crying about the results of the election as she tells a story about how she called somebody, one of her buddies that was at the Hillary Clinton putative celebration party that never happened. And here's what she says.
I was at home with friends and family watching the election returns. And as we started to see the direction of the voting, I reached out to someone close to me who was at the Javits Center where the big celebration was supposed to occur in New York City. Someone who had been working on the campaign. And I just sent him a note and said, are you okay? Looks like it's going the wrong way. And I got back a very sad, short text that read, people are leaving, staff is crying, we're going to lose. That was the first moment I really felt like we were going to lose.
She starts crying, we were going to lose. And she's telling this as if she's talking to her other friends who share her sentiments, but she's saying this on stage, and then the first time I thought we were going to lose to the entire audience of Google employees. Now, you may think that most of the Google employees may have felt the way she did, being that they're out there in Silicon Valley, but clearly not all of them felt that way, and I'm not sure why they needed to be exposed to all of the top executives of Google explaining how they felt about Trump getting elected. I mean, it's just astonishing. And then to say that they don't have bias, of course they have bias. And there's nothing wrong with bias, but you're supposed to keep it behind closed doors. Now, yes, this video was leaked, but it wasn't really leaked because hundreds of Google employees saw this. This is not an executive meeting with 5 people, and they were all commiserating with each other. Nothing wrong with that. They all know where they stand with each other. They don't know they don't know the views of every employee. All right, so that was today. Nothing's going to come of this. All the Republicans and the Democrats are all saying, "Yeah, we don't want to regulate you, but can you tell us that you'll make sure you do everything fair from now on?" He's like, "Well, we'll look into it." The other concern was China, how they were saying they have no plans yet to go into China, but there's been talks. But he downplayed the level of the talks and saying that they're not really doing it. But the idea there is that they would make a censor-compliant search results for the Chinese government. And the fear there is that they'll use that, they'll bring that back to the United States for social credit scoring and so on. And by the way, I think Alex Jones and Roger Stone were there heckling and trolling Sundar as he came into the meeting. He was almost thrown out, but he was yelling, Google is evil, Google is evil, Google is evil," and he didn't manage to get himself kicked out. Now, the other thing that happened today was Donald Trump did a little trolling himself. He somewhat ambushed Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi during a meeting. And what he was talking about, he invited them both to the White House so that they could talk about the upcoming budget, because the government's going to shut down in a week if they don't come to a budget. And then normally what happens is they heckle, either the budget closes down, the government closes down, or they pass what's called a continuing resolution. And essentially nothing happens other than they call it a government shutdown. All essential services essentially stay open, and they just gain political points blaming each other for the shutdown. Well, Trump had Nancy and Chucky into, and it's funny, AP called them Nancy and Chuck. That's why I'm saying Nancy and Chuck. It's interesting that AP would refer to them as Nancy and Chuck, and Donnie, I guess, were all in the Oval Office. And Trump did something, I guess, that he hasn't done since he did his first meeting with the Democrats on, it wasn't border security, it was on immigration reform, where he basically let the cameras run the whole time, and he had this discussion, and he allowed the cameras to be on for like an hour and a half. And I think the reason he did that at the time was he had been, the Woodward book had come out and basically said that he was not fit and that he was not lucid and unable to conduct a meeting. I think the reason he let the cameras roll is to show that he was able to conduct the meeting. But in this case, I think he had a different point of view. He was trolling Schumer and Pelosi because he knew that if he had a closed-door meeting, they'd come out, which they did anyway afterwards, and they would mischaracterize whatever was said, and Trump, I think, wanted to gain the upper hand as to the status of the negotiations. And you could see how uncomfortable Nancy Pelosi is and Chuck Schumer. Both of them, they add, well, can we kind of talk about this without the press here? And Trump's like, no, this is good. We want the country to see its transparency. Want to see what you have to say for it. And ends up Trump. Let's have a listen to how Trump introduces Nancy Pelosi, and they're just all sitting in the White House. Pence is sitting in with him as well. He's not saying anything, and the press is there. And Pelosi and Schumer are thinking the press is going to leave, and they're going to have their discussion, and he holds a negotiation right in front of them.
And other things that are really good. Nancy, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to meet with you so that we can work together in a bipartisan way to meet the needs of the American people. I think the American people recognize that we must keep government open, that a shutdown is not worth anything, and that you should not have a Trump shutdown. You have the White House, the Trump shutdown. You have the White House, you have the Senate, you have the House of Representatives, You have the votes. You should pass it
No, we
right
don't have
now.
the votes, Nancy, because in the Senate we need 60
No,
votes.
no, but in the House,
And we don't
you
have.
could bring it up right now.
Yeah, but I
today.
can't, excuse me, but I can't get it passed in the House if it's not going to.
All right, so she's telling him, why don't you just pass it in the House, because you still have the House of Representatives, and then pass it in the Senate. And he's telling her, no, I can't do that because I need 10 votes in the Senate, and I'm not going to get them currently with Schumer. All right, so then they... Now, listen to what happens with Nancy.
In the Senate, I don't want to waste time.
Well, the fact is, you can get it started that way.
The House we can get passed very easily,
Okay,
and we
then
do.
do it. Then
But
do
the
it.
problem is the Senate, because we need 10 Democrats to vote,
No,
and
no, that's
they
not
won't
the
vote.
point, Mr. President. The point is that there are equities to be weighed. And we're here to have a conversation in a prayerful way, so I don't think we should have a debate in front of the press on this. But the fact is, the House Republicans could bring...
Yeah, so we shouldn't have a debate in front of the press. Most transparent leader of the House. Then they move on, and the same subject comes up. They start to argue pretty vehemently about this, and then the trump card comes out when Schumer basically starts to say, look, you're going to shut the government down. No one wants to shut the government down. And then you'll see Trump's response. Let's have a listen.
That it is effective.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, you just said it's
Without
effective.
a wall, these are only areas where you have the walls.
We want to do
Where
this.
you have walls, Chuck, it's effective. Where you don't have walls, it is not effective.
Yeah.
Let's call a halt to this. We've come in here as the first branch of government, Article 1, the legislative branch. We're coming in good faith to negotiate with you about how we can keep the government
open.
We're going to keep it open if we have border security. If we don't have border security, Chuck, we're not going to keep it open.
We are going to have border security.
And it's the same board. You're bragging about what has been done.
By us.
We want to do the same thing we did last year, this year. That's our proposal. If it's good then, it's good now, and it won't shut down the government.
Chuck, we can build a
But that's
much
it.
bigger
Let's
section with
debate.
more money.
Let's debate in private. Okay?
Let's debate in private. So they don't want to talk about it in public because they don't want to show what horse trading they may want to do. And then it gets even more heated.
We came in here in good faith, and we're entering into this kind of a discussion in the public view.
But it's not bad, Nancy.
No.
She's worried that this is happening in the public view.
It's called transparency.
I know, it's not transparency when we're not stipulating.
It's not transparency. We can't say what we want to say unless we're behind closed doors. And then it reaches a pitch where Trump admits, I'll shut the government down. And because normally what happens is someone caves and he's saying, okay, that's not going to happen.
Are not factual. We have to have an evidence-based conversation about what does work, what money has been spent, and how effective it is. This isn't about. This is about the security of our country. We take an oath to protect and defend, and we don't want to have that mischaracterized by anyone. And
I agree with that.
and we are
No, I agree with that.
We are opposed. So let us have a conversation where we don't have to contradict in public the statistics that you put forth, but instead can have a conversation about what will really work and what the American people deserve from us at this uncertain time in their lives.
One thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it.
No, he says.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times you
Chuck.
have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said
okay,
it.
you want to put that
You've
in my...
said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am
Disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you
disagree.
what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to...
And there it is. So basically he's saying, you don't play ball with me. You come up with whatever you want. I will shut the government down. And we'll see how all that plays out in the next week or so. And then finally, before we get to our story on Perth Mint gold sales, Janet Yellen back in the news. Now, some of you may remember sometime around August of 2017, just last year, she said something like, oh, I don't think we're going to have a financial crisis again in our lifetime, but things have been put into place and the committee believes, and all this nonsense, how the world's a better place because she's leaving. And what does she say today? There's gigantic holes in the system, warns of another potential financial crisis. Game over, game changer, collapse, run to the bunkers. Janet Yellen is now a prepper after that big speech about not another financial crisis in our lifetimes. Yeah, okay, Miss Yellen. Wonderful. She's now calling for the collapse. Very much so, she is. All right, well, let's now take a look at Perth Mint gold and gold sales. They are relatively astonishing given the U.S. Mint gold sales and also what's happened with the silver market.
Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent.
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Perth Mint gold sales. Very robust, solid, and strong. Perth Mint sold 64,308 ounces of gold bullion, and that doesn't include the big bars that they sell. That's just the retail products. That's a lot. That's a lot of gold. In fact, that's up 169% over November last year when they sold, as you can see on your chat, 23,901 ounces. And 64,000 ounces is a pretty big amount of gold for the Perth Mint to sell. Now, the Perth Mint is also located in Western Australia, and they have a lot of gold mining, and as we mentioned, they have silver mining and gold mining, and the Perth Mint is a refiner, and they also make the gold coins there. So historically, a very strong gold mint, even though it's a small mint. Historically not a big silver mint, but since 2015 they've become a relatively big player in silver bullion coins when they introduced that Australian silver kangaroo in 2015. So now you have the Perth Mint selling a decent amount of gold when we see that U.S. Mint sales are very low at this time. Now remember, we've seen global gold sales are not low. They're not off the charts, but global demand is relatively strong. Third quarter was pretty big according to the World Gold Council. We did have some central bank buying in the third quarter, largely Russian, but we also had some Polish, some Hungarian. So gold demand has not gone anywhere. It's strong in China, it's strong in India, and it's strong at the Perth Mint. It's just not strong at the United States. Well, let's take a look at some comparative charts. Year over year, the Perth Mint, this is going to be versus itself. We're going to show the Perth Mint gold sales year over year, 2017 versus 2018. And if you add these up, if you take the blue, which is 2017, the red, which is 2018, we're up about 9% year over year. Through November, the Perth Mint has sold 372,813 ounces versus 341,401 ounces through this time period in November 2017. So no problem with gold sales. You know, you look at the U.S. Mint and you see these massively declining gold and silver sales. You think that that reflects the market. Doesn't. Also, the U.S. Mint and the Perth Mint, as a percentage of overall gold and silver sales, are a drop in the bucket. Not only are they a drop in the bucket in overall sales, because you have to include for silver industry and silverware and jewelry, and then for gold you got to include all the jewelry. Even as investment silver and gold, these mints even combined don't account for they're like in the single digits of overall gold demand. The reason the Perth and U.S. mints are worth following, as some people have pointed out in the live chat often, is it's just an indicator of retail demand. It's sentiment driven. It's not, these numbers are not going to drive physical gold demand. They're not going to drive physical silver demand, but they do. That's why when people say that the U.S. Mint is lying, no, they're not. They're not making this up. You talk to bullion dealers, this past year was not a big year for gold or silver sales. And I get some of these comments where they have either gold or silver derangement syndrome and they insist that the U.S. Mint is lying. They don't want to let people know what real money is. And no, they're just not selling right now. It doesn't mean that gold and silver aren't valuable, but it means that people actually are so convinced that the U.S. Mint cares so much about what people think about gold and silver that they would actually fudge the numbers. You can prove that they're not doing it. I know, that's the whole argument. Once you have the derangement syndrome, you can't accept the fact that the world does not view the world the way you do. And that they don't think that gold and silver are money, period. And there's going to be a reset. And there is a thing called the SDR and all that. Okay. But anyway, Perth Mint, no lying here. These are good numbers. They don't mean anything, but they're good numbers, and they're better than last year, as you can see. Go on the website tomorrow. I'll have these charts posted. These are directly from the Perth Mint. All right, let's take a look, though. The real interesting thing about what the Perth Mint is doing, I'll give you one more Perth Mint chart, is how they've overtaken the U.S. Mint in gold sales. Now, they are, as I mentioned, the big gold refiner and so on, but they never used to beat the U.S. Mint. The U.S. Mint, as you know, the American Gold Eagle is the #1 bullion coin in the world, as is the American Silver Eagle. Silver Eagle still is. The kangaroo is not challenging it, but still, well, somewhat is. I mean, it's interesting how the U.S. Mint sales have dropped so low that the Perth Mint is, and the Canadian mints are almost equal when the U.S. Mint is a far larger mint. But let's take a look at this one here. You can see, this is since 2014. We really haven't had a drop-off in the last 4 years. Because generally, January is a good month. You can see every January if you go through the chart, other than January 2015. And then generally, the year end, they're good months too. And nothing's really changed. We had the spikes this year. Last year, they're bigger than last year's spikes, but they weren't bad last year. You had a good September and November. And then you had a great September and November in 2016, 15, and 14. So, Perth Mint, solid mint, sells a lot of gold. And let's see how they compare against the U.S. Mint. This is where you'll find a bit staggering. This is just since 2017 I made this chart. I mean, the U.S. Mint used to dominate, and it really did dominate prior to this chart here, 2017 and 18. But as you can see here, this chart shows that the Perth Mint sold 741,000 ounces during this time period here. They're represented in the red. And the U.S. Mint only sold 416,000. That means that the U.S. Mint is way behind the Perth Mint. If you go back, and one day I'll find the charts, but you go back from 2015 and 16, it was the other way around and even more. U.S. Mint would outsell them 2 and 3 times to 1. The U.S. Mint this year sold 188,000 American 1-ounce gold eagles. In 2016, they sold 817,000, which would mean that the U.S. Mint in 1 year sold more than the Perth Mint sold in these big years, 2017 and 18. So, I don't know what it means. Sentiment in the U.S. is just... I actually think it's not sentiment is against gold. I think that Americans have been moved into digital gold. I think they've been moved into gold money. They've been moved into Bullion Vault, and they've been moved mostly into ETFs. I think a lot of Americans think, oh, if I'm going to invest in the gold asset class, I'll buy an ETF. They don't seem to gravitate towards the bullion this last year or so. Now, what's interesting is gold jewelry's had a good year, and a good year last year. Gold demand is not down in the United States. It's just down on the investment physical side. You can argue that gold jewelry is an investment too. That's fine. But when we talk about minted coins and bars, that is down. And that has been down. And I don't know if that's a trend or that is just the new reality that when people buy gold, they either buy jewelry or they buy tradable gold and they buy ETFs and or they buy the digital gold. Or I don't believe that gold demand and silver demand has lost a lot to cryptocurrencies. And the reason that is, you might have thought that in 2017, everyone was chasing the bubble. But in 2018, cryptos are gone, so you would say to yourself, all right, well, then the money should flow back into the physical gold. Hasn't. Now, unless everyone moved into cryptocurrencies and everyone lost all of their money, then they wouldn't have any money to buy gold. But I don't think that's the case. A lot of people never even took a look at cryptos, and maybe they're just not excited about it. They don't want to buy anymore because the price hasn't risen. Well, then what about all the new investors that should be flooding into gold because it's not happening? So I don't have the answers, but a lot of people want to deny the lower gold sales or silver sales as part of some type of conspiracy by the U.S. Mint to not tell people the truth about real money. I don't have any time for that because that's nonsense. All right, let's take a look at what you guys are saying over in the comments. Let's see what our game-changing mug stackers are saying. Ann Holloman is here. Hello. Pablo is here. De La Villa is here. Hello. Government shutdown. He posted. Yes. Taylor Collins says, Smaulgld highlight updates are the highlight of my day. Well, happy to oblige. They are game changers. I try to give you an objective view with a little humor. That's what I try to do. All right. All I want for Christmas is a Smaulgld mug. All right. Well, I want to thank people. A lot of people bought mugs last night. I appreciate that. And bought some of the other Smaulgld game-changing products from the site. And I did receive some Litecoin. Someone sent me a half a Litecoin. That was very kind. They put their phone right up to the screen. I found that QR code, so it does work. And I also got some donations. So thank you very much for those of you who have been donating and have been purchasing the game-changing Smaulgld products. All right, let's see. Silver going down to $13.50 or lower, TRP says. Always seems to drop the last half of December. Could be. Pablo Pena, thanks for the insight. We'll see if it does to purchase some AGs. American Supertramp. Google is suppressing searches for mugs. You know, I haven't checked, and I don't rely on Google. Remember, I don't have Google ads, so you don't see any of those Google ads on my channel. And I don't rely on, and I don't buy Google ads, so I don't know what they're doing. But I'm going to look up Smaulgld mug. Actually, I can't even do it because I'm on DuckDuckGo. Try to pretty much eliminate Google from my daily life here, but I'll see what they say about Smaulgld mugs and see if I show up. Oh, nice. Guys, if you type in Smaulgld mugs, you get treated to a row. I'm going to show this to you right now. This is the search for Smaulgld mugs. This is what you get. So they're not suppressing Smaulgld mugs from the search engine, not at all. Very nice page. Let me show you this. And then the first organic search is QAnon Smaulgld mugs. QAnon Smaulgld mugs. All right. And then it says, if you win, you win. If you lose, you still win. There's some nice pictures here. Got stacking pictures, but we'll just show you these pictures that came in from, if you type in Smaulgld mugs, what do you get? You get like that. 18 reasons to buy and hoard mugs. 10 reasons why you should buy and hoard mugs. 15 reasons why you should buy and hoard mugs. You got the special design, the Smaulgld beer mug, the frosted mug, the espresso mug, and the travel mug. They're represented, I would say, very much indeed on Smaulgld. All right, so American Supertramp, not now, not yet are they being suppressed. All right, let's see what else we got here. Jim Jordan picked on the elite, then his nephew died. Yeah, it's interesting. I even talked about that, about his wrestling scandal. Then all of a sudden, then something from 16 years ago. And it was one of those cases where they couldn't blame him for anything, but they wanted to blame him that he knew about something and didn't do anything about it. It's kind of hard, those kind of cases. You get them out there and they taint the reputation, but you don't have to actually go through on it. All right, let's see. De La Ville, they controlled algorithms in favor of Hillary and donated heavily to her. Well, that had appeared to be what they did, and it does appear they had a getting out the vote type of campaign. And again, you could say it's a private company. They can do what they want. A lot of companies, they do. In fact, Google is the largest donor to Congress. I saw that somewhere today. So clearly they're political. To pretend that you're not is very disingenuous. But then again, it's okay to be political. The question is, can you be political with your product? Now, some companies can be, and it works for them, and it's fine. Ben & Jerry's ice cream. They have Resist ice cream. They're not going to say they're not political. Of course they are. That's how they make their money. People like that kind of stuff. They want to buy some hippy-dippy ice cream, and they go out and they buy it because they know where Ben & Jerry stand. Although Ben & Jerry's, I didn't realize, is not Ben & Jerry's. They sold out to like Procter & Gamble, one of the large conglomerates a long time ago. But I guess they managed to keep their brand identity after the merger. Starbucks does the same thing. Starbucks is it presents itself to the world as socially progressive. That's fine. You know what you're getting. But Google presents itself as some type of neutral platform, and it's not the case. Same with Twitter, same with Facebook. When they say, well, the reason they say that is they know that they need to keep their status as a platform. That's what Louis Gohmert was kind of angling at, is like, how come you're not being sued for, signing on with Southern Poverty Law Center? It's not really a good argument. The argument is, if you are a neutral platform, then, and you just allow everything to go on there, and you don't curate stuff, you don't take down stuff, and you don't take down stuff on one side and not the other. In other words, if you're biased in operating a platform, then it's not a platform. You are a publisher. And that's like the New York Times. If you're a publisher, then you're responsible for publishing what's on there. If you're just a platform, people just throw a lot of stuff up, then if they throw stuff up that's somehow would be libelous or copyright infringement, you could say, look, it's not me. It's just that's what the users do. And we've got an obligation to police the platform, but we can't be held responsible. We're not a publisher. But when you look at what Twitter does, everything that trends, none of it, it's all against Trump. And then I've done this experiment. If you block, they have like 15 or 20 of their favorite accounts that whenever there's something against Trump, you block them, then you still see them. Well, that's clear that they're publishing it. Just like you can't unsee the front page of the New York Times. You can't opt out of the New York Times. It's a publisher. That's what they present to you. You can't opt out of what the Twitter trends are. You click on a trend, you're not going to see points of view from anyone but their top trenders. And a lot of the trending articles come directly from the New York Times and the Washington Post. So they're almost acting as a mirror platform for those they don't put up Breitbart or Q, I don't know what that Q, it's not QAnon, America One, I think it's called. There's a lot, you could put up Daily Caller, you could put up Fox, but they don't. They pick the New York Times and the Washington Post. If they were putting them all up randomly, then you'd say they are a platform. But instead, they put up their favorites and then their favorite Twitter accounts. The other thing that is obvious, if you go to Trump's tweets and you look at the responses, every last one of them, every one of them is an attack on him. Now, there's no way that everyone who tweets under Donald Trump's tweets is against Trump. But that's all that you see. So somehow their algorithm has figured out how to publish only those comments. And I think that's what Google is concerned about, why they're not going to say they're biased. That's why Jack says he's not biased on Twitter. That's why Facebook says they're not biased. And then they try to act like they're helping out on Russia and they're really being helpful. And they basically have, they have to say the right thing and then do something else. And we'll see what happens. But I think if they were to lose their platform status, they would be in a lot of trouble because then they'd have a zillion lawsuits. All right, let's see. I wonder what 2019 holds for equities in the global economy. Who knows? Hope there'll be no major war or civil unrest. You never know. Let's see. It says, oh no, he's gone. Oh, not me, back on. Okay. It's funny how he calls them by their first name. Yep. Nancy. Yep. The tariff on Mexico will pay for it. All right. Pablo Pena. I believe Mexico will pay for the wall somehow. Most of the caravan will reside in Mexico. Trump will slap a tariff on Mexico. One way that you can pay for the wall is, I think Mexico still has about $20 billion worth of U.S. treasuries. You just cancel those. You say, okay, we're even. We don't owe you anything back on those. Would have been great if you called them chuckles. Yep. Yeah, there's a debate about, we should have a tariff discussion. I'm not going to get into this now about how tariffs work and whom they affect and the transfer from one to the other and so on. All right. Pablo Pena, Trump is brilliant to make this live. He already got them. He got rating in the apprentice in the boardroom. What he did was he basically he framed the discussion as, I'm for border security and you're not. And Chuck's argument, which is a good one, is, well, you're saying that border security is working. We'll do another year of your border security, which is a little bit of the wall. I think they're offering a $1.3 billion for the wall instead of $5 billion. And Trump is saying, I want the whole thing. And of course, the reason they want a smaller amount is the longer it drags on, maybe they know eventually it'll get all built, but the more people they can let into the country that can vote for them. All right, let's see. Wu-Tang Clan. Trace Young. What are we talking about here? All right. You guys are on the tariff thing. I'm going to skip that. Let's see what else. You guys are still talking about tariffs. All right. What else do we got? What about currency value difference? You're still talking about tariffs. You're talking about NAFTA. All right. Max is gone. Good night, Max. All right. Americans moved. I should just let you guys, I should just open up the chat and you guys can talk about tariffs here. De La Ville, Ann, do you really know a lot of people who have bought cryptos? Ann, maybe people are tied up in cryptos and don't have money. None, LOL. Well, there you go. So that theory is gone because if you don't know anyone who bought cryptos, that would mean that those people, that there's people that you do know that didn't buy them that could buy gold and silver, and they don't seem to be buying that either. I'm the only person I know that owns cryptos, says De La Ville. Yeah, I don't think that. Here's the thing that a lot of people, crypto pumpers and gold pumpers and silver pumpers, maybe they realize it, maybe they don't. I think they fall into three camps. Yeah, they realize it that no one buys that stuff, or they think that they're specially woke because they buy it. Or they think everybody buys it and everybody will buy it once they realize what a wonderful thing cryptos are, or Bitcoin, or gold, or silver, when really most people don't know what they are. As I mentioned, I don't think you're in single-digit percentages, if that buy gold, silver, or cryptos. I don't know which is lowerly held, which is the least held, but there is not great penetration. If the U.S. Mint sells 180,000 ounces, 1 ounce gold coins, can't be made. There's 350 million people in the United States. There's not many people buying gold. You sell 13 million silver eagles. I have to think that a very small group of people buy the bulk of those 15 million silver eagles. There's probably thousands of people that buy. I don't think there's even millions of people that buy Silver Eagles. Same with cryptos. No one's buying. There's not millions of people out there buying. That's why there's no adoption. These are all niche alternative investments. But yet, you hang out on these YouTube channels and you think, you know, because the channel has 300,000 subscribers, that everyone's buying gold, silver, and cryptos. And probably even on the channels with 350,000 subscribers, not everyone on those even has gold, silver, and cryptos. They're just interested in it. So, I think Ann is right. Guillaume Charles, if AG and AU were accepted as medium of exchange again, would the output of the mints increase? Absolutely, would have to. I mean, that was why South Africa was important during the period of Bretton Woods. They had to supply the world with gold, even though it wasn't even being used as a medium of exchange, because it was being used as a reserve asset that the United States and other countries had to have. And when you had the silver use as coinage, it was always a big deal, with the Nevada mines angling to get to sell silver under the Pittman Act to send it to India, so the English colony would have enough rupees, and they'd have to replace all that silver so they can make U.S. coins and silver dollars again and replace the ones they melted down. Clearly, when you have silver, especially being used as a medium of exchange, you need it, but it's not going to happen. No country is going to institute minting coins and handing them out to people to transact in. They'll leave the system so fast there would be no point in issuing them. And because today's world is far more digital, it makes no sense to use silver as a medium of exchange for a national government. The only type of silver for exchange would make sense would be if you had a closed system and you had border controls and the silver didn't leave and it was used as money. Like in San Marino, you would go in and you'd exchange your currency for San Marino money or Vatican City money, and they would hand you the silver coins, but then you'd have to turn them back in at the border. But then there's no point in doing that. You might as well just turn them in for clad coinage. There's really, I don't ever see countries issuing medium of exchange coinage at all. They can get away with paper and other metallic coins, and after that, so many more people today have access to plastic, to cell phones. It just doesn't make any sense to use it as a medium of exchange. It makes sense to have it as a store of value or to use as jewelry, but I don't think there's going to be a currency demand ever again where the mines are going to have to produce extra silver so people can have coins. I don't think that's going to happen. It may happen that you may have more rich people in the world that want more silver jewelry or more gold jewelry, but Guillaume Charles, I don't think you're going to get silver or gold as a medium of exchange. All right. Joe Derte, when Mugs Moon? Lambo soon. Absolutely. All right. I think, you guys are tough. Super cold in Vermont, says Taylor Collins. It's in the Green Mountain State
with Bernie Sanders.
All right. Let's see. What else do we got? A lot of stuff here. Yeah, looks like you guys are having a good conversation amongst yourself. I'll let you talk amongst yourself. I'll leave the thread open another couple of minutes, but I do want to thank you for joining me tonight and for all the support that you have provided. And also, please remember to share and like this video. Sign up at Smaulgld. Subscribe there. Just give an email address. I don't spam. I don't send out every blog post because there's one every day. You basically get 1 or 2 a week unless there's something very special happening. As I mentioned, it's always good to have direct connection with the content provider through their website, more so than you would have on YouTube where you can get booted or anywhere else. So please go over to smaulgld.com and sign up. And don't forget your mugs. Trey says, countries will issue silver and gold as a medium of exchange when the population demands it. And as Shrek says, like, that's ever going to happen. Trace, no population. They don't even know what it is. They're not going to demand it. That's the whole point. They're not even buying the small amounts of gold and silver in the United States. What population is going to demand the gold and silver? That's just something that you hear on baloney channels that tell you, yeah, there's going to be a reset and they're going to need gold and silver. Yeah, they need you to believe that, so you buy gold and silver from them. That's never going to happen. All right. Thank you, Andrew. That's not going to happen. Population, you know what, they did this idea they're going to lose faith in paper. They already don't even use paper. They use digital. What happened in 2008? There was no faith lost. What'd they say? They said, give us more dollars. And what are more dollars? Paper dollars, digital dollars. People are so beyond the gold and silver story. They don't even know what it is. It's like saying in 1950, the next time we have 50,000 people die in car crashes, the people are going to demand that they stop automobiles and they bring back the horse, because horses are transportation, period. They've always been transportation. And people demand a return to horses. It's not going to happen. They will. As always, hope springs eternal. Yep, they will. The world somehow will get educated. They'll get woke. They'll turn on YouTube and they'll find the secret hidden secrets of some nonsense, and they will demand gold and silver, and then they're going to rush to buy gold and silver with their digital assets. It's not going to happen. Yeah, they don't, but they will. It's not apples and oranges. It absolutely isn't. People do not use gold and silver as a medium of exchange for the main reason it's not convenient anymore. It's the same reason people don't use horses for transportation anymore. It's not as convenient, as fast as cars. That doesn't mean gold and silver aren't valuable. Doesn't mean that horses aren't valuable. It means as a medium of exchange, lugging around gold bars is not as easy as holding up your iPhone or using your credit card to buy stuff. That's factual. You may say it's fake, it's not real, it's an illusion, it's a digital illusion. What are all the catchphrases you may want to use? When people want to transact, they want to transact fast. They want to carry around stuff. When people want to get to point A, so they use digital currencies. I don't mean cryptocurrencies. I mean dollars are in digital form. When people want to get around fast, they don't saddle up anymore. They get in a car. That's right. If all cars fail to work tomorrow, horses might become popular. I agree. And if the whole system collapsed, I don't mean financial system. I'm talking about if there was an EMP and you could not get the electricity back on, you couldn't get the grids back on, clearly people would try to use silver coinage. Absolutely true. But the goal would be to get the world up and running as soon as possible so they wouldn't have to be in the Stone Age anymore. So if you're holding on to gold and silver, expecting the infrastructure to go down, that's prepping. That's fine. But that's not a financial argument. That's not like the global financial system is then going to go into gold and silver. They're not. They love debt. They love the ability, the SWIFT system, all that stuff. They're not going to go to gold and silver. People will use gold and silver, yeah. And if we have a catastrophic war, we may use, it's the old thing, what will World War IV be fought with? You'd be throwing stones at each other because everything will be gone. But the idea that a rational financial system is going to return to gold and silver, and that people are going to be walking around with bags of silver in their pockets, Jimmy bag of silver, it's not going to happen. If the world is functioning, they will find a way to digitize everything. They're moving away from physical specie. The millennials, they don't have books. They don't have CDs. They don't have LPs. They don't own anything. They don't even own those video games that they play. Everything is digital. They're not going to say, "Oh, I need a silver coin to go buy something." The only people who believe this are people that are just bought into the gold and silver pump stories. And the problem is, gold and silver are valuable. but they're not valuable as a medium of exchange. At least not now they're not, and they're not going to be. No one's going to force governments to use gold and silver as a medium of exchange. The only way gold and silver ever become a medium of exchange again is if we have a catastrophic, not financial collapse, but infrastructure collapse, where you cannot actually have electricity, you can't have digital exchanges because it doesn't work for whatever reason. Yes, then in your local community, gold and silver, fine. But if everything is up and running, you just have a financial collapse, they're not going to put gold and silver into the system. This whole idea that something you can trust. Most people actually, I've seen people, they actually trust dollars. And you think, well, they're stupid. Well, why are they any more stupid than trusting a shiny object? It's just they've learned to trust dollars. If you go to Latin America, you travel a bit. I've done this, and I exchange my money into the foreign currency. And then I go to use it, like, you American? I'm like, yeah. Where the dollar? I'm like, I got your money. Like, no, $1. They like that stuff. You may think it's dumb. The world is run on dollars. It's not me shilling the dollar or being an apologist for the dollar. It's a fact. People are not into. Most people have no idea about any monetary value attached to gold or silver. They think of it as jewelry. They think of it as silverware. They think of it as valuable, but they don't think about exchanging it. Why? They didn't grow up with it. They don't even make change with the nonsense coins that we have now. Why are they going to demand gold and silver coins? They're not. The only people saying that are people who sell gold and silver. Trey says, okay, sorry, didn't mean to say. I was signing off here because I hear these people. I think, sorry, Trey, not you, but a lot of them have gold derangement syndrome or silver derangement syndrome. They actually believe that the world is just waiting for the moment where they can all rise up and demand gold and silver. I like to use the Mark Dice analogy. Now, granted, they're contrived, but when Mark Dice stands on a corner and he tries to hand out silver bars or chocolate bars, they take the chocolate bar. They have no idea what silver is. He tries to sell a gold coin for the face value. They don't want it. And he says, well, you got a lot at home? I go, yeah. Well, these are the people. They're not going to demand anything. They'll demand the chocolate back yuan before they demand the gold back yuan. Oh, here we go. The dollar is relative to an ounce of gold. Okay. It's the foundation of all trade. Yes, it is. All right, guys. I leave you to your gold and silver fantasies. But really, the fantasy you should be having is getting your next Smaulgld mug, because mugs can never go to zero. Mugs are real wealth. Have a good night, game changers.